Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. We are hearing you.
Yeah, sure, sure. His research area include like the embedded system, development of higher pressure DTA and its application, tri-cooler based pumps, conducting polymers and OLEDs. And he completed many of the R&D and the consultancy project funded by DRDO, ISRO, DST, UGC, and CSIR. He also part of the various industrial and the research oriented projects, and he received a number of grants from the reputed institutions and universities. His research publication include over 170 publication in reputed international journal and conferences, and he is having affiliation of the various professional societies like IEEE and the Instrument Society of India, and many others. And he is having a number of achievements on his name. Like he ranked first, and he received like 5 gold medals from the master examination. Again, he received Young Scientist Award in 1983 from Karnataka Association of Advancement of Science. And he currently and in the past hold different responsibilities such as chairman, expert member in committee of MOE, then AICT, NBA, NAC, and UGC. He is the selection committee member of IITs, NITs, and the reputed private and government universities. Again, he is having the different position and responsibility on his shoulder. And apart from that, he visited different countries all over the world for all the relevant activity relevant to academic as well as research oriented, for his and for the different grants and the research oriented work. So I welcome you, sir, for the uh, FDP session. So first FDP session, he will deliver on the national education policy implementation, and I hand over to you, sir. So you can
Thank you.
start the session now.
Thank you for your kind introduction. And before that, let me check my presentation.
Yeah,
Just
sure, sir. Yeah.
stop sharing
Mm-hmm.
and give me permission to share.
Yep, sure. You are presenter now, sir. You can share.
No, you
Can
have
you
to
please do
stop.
the needful?
You need to stop the sharing.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Sir, it is already stopped. You just have to go present now.
And full window or entire screen.
Uh, you window only. Now select your presentation from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me, is it visible
Yes, sir. The first slide is blank slide, I think.
now?
Nothing is visible, sir. Only blank slide is there.
Now?
Sir, you can share the entire screen so that
Sometimes
it,
it may create the
yeah,
problem. You share the
yeah.
entire screen, sir.
Yeah. Give me. Okay. So entire screen. Yeah. Just
Yes,
see
sir.
the.
Yes, sir. You are
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. Thank you. So shall I?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your kind introduction, and Dr. Ujwala and my dear friends. I'm happy to be with all of you this evening. I think this is what we learned from COVID after office hours. This is beyond curriculum. We learn things beyond office hours. Sorry for the interruptions in the beginning. Normally, commercial breaks are taken at the middle, but now today we have taken the commercial break in the beginning itself. AI ML did not help us today. So artificial intelligence and machine learning, I think we have to do. So today I'm going to, as an inaugural thing, national education policy. This is, ATAL mandatorily wants every course, all the participants should get acquainted with the national new education policy of national education policy of 2020. So what I try and do is the following. I'm going to speak to all of you about education itself, what it was, what it is today, and what it is going to be in future. So what we have today is like something like education 4.0, and in line with that, industry also has moved from 1.0 to 4.0. Couple of minutes I will spend, and then to illustrate where we are today and technology and some of the highlights of the new education policy. I won't be able to go through the whole thing because it's a huge document, and some salient features, implementation timeline, challenges in the implementation of the national education policy, and role of the technical institutions. So all of us have gone through a painful era of last 2 years. So a virus called COVID has created a lot of hassles in our learning. But somehow India has done very well, and we learned many good things also. So in that context, I would like to call COVID in my own way. So if I want to redefine COVID in educational sector, I would call it as COVID is create opportunity for victory in disaster. So virtual lab that you talk today I'm in Bangalore. All of you are there wherever you are, but still we will be able to get connected thanks to this. So these are the advantages one can think of. Not that it's good, but it's all right. I mean, instead of all of us spending 7-8 days or 8-9 days in one place, we can learn every evening. And I understand that it is in this 7 to 9 program. That's very good. So another BC is before Christ, but now my new definition would be BC is before Corona, that March 2020. Before that, we can call that era as before Corona, and AC after Corona. So now we are in the after Corona thing. Let me just spend a couple of minutes just to understand what was the education system long ago. As all of you know, go back to the education 1.0, it was mere lecturing and memorization. Most of us have gone through that 30, 40, 50, even before that. But internet came into being, which has changed the whole thing. So that era is what we call it as education 2.0. So open source were available, which otherwise was so difficult even to access a library book in our days. But later, we understood education should give something. So education is all about knowledge producing. It should produce knowledge. Therefore, in the third era of education, we bothered to learn more knowledges. But today, all of us quickly realize that knowledge is alone would not suffice. So in addition to knowledge, we need to have skill and attitude. I know most of you are preaching the outcome-based education. All the outcome-based education that you have been practicing revolves around KSA. That means Why do we produce BTech engineers? We give knowledge, in addition to knowledge, skill, that is through laboratories, internships, capstone project, cornerstone project, various projects that you can generate. They all give skill, and finally, engineers also will be prepared, or graduates with attitude also. So therefore, the purpose of the education today should part all the three, just not knowledge. In the same way, industry also has moved from 1.0 to 4.0. If you go back to the 18th century, which we classify as industry 1.0, all that we used to do those days, some mechanical small gadgets which are powered either by water or steam, toys, small toys, that was an era. But later, beginning of the Second World War, somewhere there, the revolution of the industry has taken place. Then we started seeing what we call it as mass production. So even railway engines were on the track. But there's a huge paradigm shift in the industry 3.0. That's because of the electronics and information technology. This has changed the whole thing. Everything has become autonomous. Perhaps today you don't have to go to railway station to book a ticket. You don't have to go to bank to draw the money. So these are all possible because of the development in electronics and information technology. And what we are currently, Industry 4.0 speaks about the cyber physical system. Everything can get connected. What we talk cloud, you can get connected to cloud. Any physical system can be with the cyber. This is what we speak today as IoT, Internet of Things. What is not IoT, you can question yourself. Everything on the globe is IoT, Internet of Things in agriculture, IoT in pharma, IoT in healthcare, IoT in manufacturing, anything that you name, it's all today's word is Internet of Things. Just to put you in the perspective about the quality of education, one of our great man was the first Indian director of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and also was the first Asian to have got the Nobel Prize in 1930, Sir C.V. Raman. He says about quality of education, I quote, students of today are being taught by the teachers of yesterday, with curriculum which is of the day before yesterday. So he thought about this long ago. So what it means, if I am permitted to give an analogy, you prepare your dal, sambar, or whatever you call it, keep it in the refrigerator, and every day you take a small portion of it, and a wonderful device next to the refrigerator in any home is oven. Eat it up in the oven. So that's not possible in education. So therefore, as a teacher, we have to update ourselves with the present curriculum. Another great man whom I admire most is Albert Einstein. I quote, he said, I never try to teach my students anything. I only try to create an environment where they can learn. So what the national education policy envisages is that we should create an ambient. As all of you are aware, in technical education, we used to have 220 credit, then reduced to 200 to 180, and today is 160 credit. What it means is self-study. Students should be prepared as graduates. So this is what our great Einstein and Sir C.V. Raman said long, long ago. So this I thought is appropriate because all of us are teachers and teachers themselves can be classified into 5 groups. I'm sure that all those who are attending today the ATAL program certainly would belong to the fourth or fifth. That is a gifted teacher who inspires and a modern teacher who facilitates. I think all of us, otherwise, a good teacher, always teachers are good. I won't believe if somebody says teacher is bad. So a good teacher always explains, perfect teacher demonstrates. So I'm sure that all of us now, either we are a gifted teacher or a modern teacher. Education, as all of you know, should provide four important things. One is knowledge, as I said earlier. Second one is know-how. Third, education should lead to wisdom, and education should give character. So knowledge, of course, as all of you know, either formally or informally, we learn through education. But what is more important is a know-how to do things rightly. What is the right thing to do? That is important for all of us. Wisdom to set priority. We have many things, but we lose track, and then we don't prioritize. I would the one which always follow that in the morning 5 minutes I spend and then list out, do things. What are the things that I should do today? That I think 60, 70, 80% of the work can be done. So planning is extremely important, and also priority, which one to do first and so on. And character is all about trustworthy and respectable member of the society. I'm sure that all of you agree with me. Teachers are most respected in the globe. And there is a huge paradigm shift, as all of you have seen, especially after the COVID. What used to be a written exams have become coursework. Tutor-led assessment are now all becoming student-led assessment. Outcome is what we speak, learner outcome, student outcome, course outcome, all these things specific to the student-centric. Implicit is all becoming explicit. And competitions, as you know, is broad, has become collaborations. Product assessment, what we used to do earlier, which is again very broad, now as specifically process assessment is what we do. Objectives, slightly broader, have become outcomes. Content has become competencies. Course assessment has become modular assessment. So therefore, the graduates whom we prepare in 2020 or today, they should have important 10 skills. The first, all our graduates should be able to solve the complex problem. I always keep saying that if a student of computer science knows how to write a program in C language or a Python to find out the area of the circle, he will not become an engineer. He cannot solve the problem, complex problem. You have to be ready to be a coder. You have to solve the complex problem. That's what the technical education expects. Second important characteristic that is required, as I showed you in the previous slide, education 4.0 has got a direct relations with industry 4.0. Therefore, industry expects the graduate to think critically, creatively, with people management, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making. A person who doesn't take any decision is indecisive. Service, negotiation, and finally cognitive flexibility. I had a great opportunity to work in Indian Institute of Science for 40 years. Now you know that any organization you are there, 3-4 years you'll be keep moving. So that is called flexibility. You have to keep learning newer things and keep moving from one domain or one assignment to another assignment. Now, future of India is great. We used to huddle made in India. Products are made, labeled, and sold locally. But now we are moved into what we call it as make in India. New foreign investment in the Indian market. We make the profit, part of it will be given to the investor, and we create a lot of jobs. This make in India requires digital India, digital infrastructure for every citizen, governance and services on demand, and digital empowerment. So now, at least today, thanks to Geo, any space that you go, the network is available. Good or bad, let's debate later, but at least something is better than what I remember 1970s when we go out, we didn't have a telephone to call back our home for days and days, night, stand in the queue. And those are the days, if you compare, I'm sure that we have moved a lot. So with this brief introduction, let me now go to my first part of talk, highlights of the new education policy. As all of you know, this new education policy came into being in 2020, which is third in the series. The first one itself came in way back in 1966, Kothari Committee. And the second new education policy was in 1986. And that time, they took about 6 years to decide what to do. So basically, it started in 1992. So after 34 years, this new education policy has come. And my request to all of you is, this is the led by Dr. Kasur Rangan, former ISRO chairman. The total document is about 484. I think it is so difficult, it's very difficult for all of you. But 29th July 2020, there's a cabinet note of 66 page. Again, technical education and higher education is about 15-16 page. So if you can go through that, it is there in the website, freely available. I think all of us can understand this and then start moving. Upfront, I want to tell, new education policy cannot be administered by the central government or state government or university or college. Every individual should be part of the implementation of the national education policy. As you all of you know, India is a huge country. It is mind-boggling if I say 35 crore students are studying from LKG to PhD. Unfortunately, we have only 1.1 crore, roughly 1:35, which is not acceptable by any standard in the globe. 1,000 universities are there in India, 10,000 standalone institutions, 130 centrally funded institutions like IISc, IIT, NIT, IIM, central universities, and so on. I was the first student in 1970 to join 2+2. Earlier, after 10th, there was only 1 year pre-university, and I was the first one to have joined 10+2 in the year 1971. So after 50 years, now the 10+2 is now divided into 5+3+4, which I will tell you in the next slide. India is known for great universities, Nalanda, Takshashila, they're all there. In fact, foreign students also studied in India. We talk about we going out, our foreign students are also were coming to India those days. One of the important highlight of the new education policy is, even if you take the school education, the assessment should be formative. All of you understand there are three types of assessment: diagnostic assessment, formative assessment, summative assessment. Formative is your continuous, and summative is 3 hours exam. And all of you agree with me, if a student is tested for 3 hours the whole semester or a year, I think it is rather very, criminal, cruel on students. If for some reason, if he doesn't do well, then, it is not good. So therefore, the new national education policy insists that even in the school education, there will not be final exam except third standard, fifth standard, eighth standard. Of course, 10th will continue. Otherwise, it is continuous learning. Mother tongue regional language if possible up to 5th standard. And I will talk about 4-year UG program later with multiple entry, multiple exit. So what is done in the National Education Policy recommendation is Higher Education Council is done. That means today what we have AICT, UGC, Pharmacy Council, then Architecture Council and so on and so forth, except medical and legal. I don't know the reason why they have kept away. All other education in the country will come under one council, Higher Education Council of India, which I will talk about it, what it is constituents. And finally, the national education policy also envisages that there is a critical mass of 3,000 students are required. If small institutes are there with 300, 500, they all have to come together. Otherwise, infrastructure, faculty salary, is extremely difficult without a critical mass. So therefore, they suggest like-minded people, even other societies, trust, governmental. Now they have already started in a way what we call it as a cluster university. If you go to Mumbai, there is a cluster university, one arts, one science, one commerce, one law. They are near, within a kilometer, they have been clustered into a university. In Bangalore, there is one cluster university with Marani's arts, science, and another 3 more. So clustering also is possible for, that is one of the objective of this. And GR is nothing but gross enrollment ratio. As in 2018, about 26%, and the national education policy, a huge quantum jump of 2035, by 2035, 50%. Just to give a small illustration or number wise, if you think today about 3 crores, roughly 3 crore students have access to higher education. But that government of India wants to reach 6 crore by 2035. That is the meaning of gross enrollment ratio. And research, as all of you know, today many agencies are there. CSR, UGC, DST, DBT, anything you name, ministries. So they all come under one platform called National Research Foundation. So one window, single point, where again they allocated about 50,000, 10,000 crores for every year, of which 5 crores will go. Basically what is going to happen in future is there every institution today is affiliated to university. This affiliation is something very special to India. If you go to America, there are 3,000 colleges, 3,000 university degree giving colleges. So therefore, eventually in the next 10, 15, 20 years, India wants to get rid of this affiliation and like to have only 3 types of universities, namely multi-education research universities. Let's tier 1, IIM, IIT, ISC, NIT, they all should become multi-educational research universities. The next one is like RTA, RTM, Anna University, then JNTU, all the state universities should become research universities. And autonomous institutions should try to go quickly towards teaching universities. So therefore, what they are thinking even for research is, if there is a 10,000 crore, maybe you don't have to compete with IAC, IIT. So the first tier 1 will take about 5,000 crores. Maybe the next one, 3,000 crore will be there for the universities, and 2,000 crores still left to the autonomous and other affiliated colleges. So therefore, you will be competing with your peers. You don't have to worry about competing with others. That is what is happening, and most of the projects are given to the good institution. That will go away if one follows the national education policy. And it also says it should be holistic. The education should be, I'm only science, I know only, you should have a broad perspective. Even IIT, for instance, science and engineering, they have to bring in little bit of humanities, arts, liberal art, music, social science, and so on. And One more ambitious plan of the national education policy is multidisciplinary. I will talk about it as we go because otherwise the employability is an issue. The civil engineer is, all of you know, civil, mechanical, electrical, the admissions are going down. Therefore, how do we make they are employable? Therefore, multidisciplinary concept has to come. How do we do it? I try to give few examples. And MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource Development, has been renamed as Ministry of Education. Just to spend a minute or two on the primary education, as I said, the primary education is made into four compartment. 10 plus 2 plus again, as all of you know, that we have 3 more years before LKG, I mean, first standard, Montessori, LKG, UKG. So basically, the children will study 3 plus 12, 15 years. So this 15 years is divided into four parts. So the class 1 and 2 at the age of 6 and 8 plus 3 years of Anganwadi or school, totally 5 years, we call it as foundation stage. The blue one, what you see is foundation, where multi-level play activity based learning. This is what is important. Now in India, if he is going to LKG, he should carry 1 kg, UKG 2 kg. So number of kgs goes up. So if you go to, I've seen in Canada, students don't take anything to the school. In the school, they have a locker, put the book, everything, come back, enjoy at home and doing some activity. So activity based is what is going to be for these 5 years. The second stage is what we call it as a preparatory stage. That is 3 years, when children are in the third standard, fourth standard, and fifth standard. So in addition to play, discovery, activity based, interactive classroom starts. And in the next third stage, which we call it as a middle stage, 3 years, that is class 6, 7, 8, then experiential learning, not just in science, mathematics, arts, social science, humanities. This is called what we call it as a multidisciplinary. And last part of their school education is 4 years, when they are in 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 years, which we call it as secondary stage. Then multidisciplinary, critical thinking, flexibility, student choice of subjects, all this what we speak today in engineering education will all come. So you may ask me, do we have to wait 12 years to get our student for BTech? No, parallelly we have to start doing it. So that is the way we should move forward. Having said some of the highlights, now some salient features of the our objective, what we call it, of national education policy. First important objective of the NEP is self-reliant India. Initiatives of the government of India, as all of you know, Make in India, which I showed you in the beginning. So the Make in India, Skill India, Startup India, and now today what we are talking is Atmanirbhar India. So this, after COVID, as all of you know, no one can help. No country can help other country because each one is going through financial crunch. So therefore, the skill education is what is important. Skilling is what, which I will speak about it little later. That without that, there is no. Of course, in the beginning, I told you that today's education is knowledge, skill, and attitude. The second important objective is sustainable development. As all of you know, if you go back to United Nations, they have defined 17 sustainable development goals, SDG, they call it SDG 1 to SDG 17. And one among them is give education to everybody, give eradicate poverty, give water, and so on. So therefore, each one of us should see that some of these goals are also included in part of the curriculum. And to follow up, India has also created 39 skill councils in the national level. So you can go to skill council and then see and your civil, mechanical, electrical, electronics, all labs can be used not only for your student but also the student who are not formally registered in your institutions. For non students, public also skill can be given through these institutions. The third objective is education, as all of you know, is an economy booster. Perhaps you all of you agree, education is an index for progress of the country. Country is progressing, it means education is progressing. No muscle power, money power, knowledge power. So that is where Indian scientists, Indian students are preferred even in America. Even in IT and computer related, 43% of the Asians are there, and of which the lion's share goes to India. So therefore, this knowledge power should be converted to a knowledge economy. So government of India also is expected to increase their GDP for education from 3% to 6%, which as I said, 36.5 crore, 50,000 colleges in higher education. And then, if you count all the primary, 6% also is not adequate. So what they want is incubation canter reinforce boosting the economy through entrepreneurship. Future is going to be no government jobs. You should not be a job seeker. You should not be a gap. You have to give a job. Startups and all that are of the order of the day. So therefore, and also the money will be generated through what we call it as CSR, corporate social responsibility. So everybody has agreed 2% of the profit of every things will be used for education and health sector. Fourth important objective is internationalization. I told you earlier, it is not that we don't have. Earlier, Nalanda, Taksashila, even students from abroad, they were coming here to study. So as I said, India is a knowledge hub. Now the basic thing is to bring the competition, not healthy competition, not to close all the Indian institutions and then start the foreign. So research collaboration will start, student exchange will start, which is already MOU that you call and then sign. And unfortunately, MOUs are only in paper. Now active MOUs are to take place. A student can study 3 years here and then go 1 year and then get both degrees. Credit of that university can be transferred to our institution. All this credit transfer, ABC, we call it, academic bank credit. Even in India, you can acquire 160 and then get a degree. So these are all possibilities, but takes time. Not that it can happen. It will happen in the next year. So what government of India is trying to do to boost the international business, about 100 universities are being selected to start. Of course, I understand that the fee structure and all that should be commensurate to the Indian context. They cannot charge dollars and so on. That is not affordable. The next thing, very important objective, is digitize pedagogy and classroom. Knowingly or unknowingly, last 2 years, thanks to COVID, we have created digital libraries, digital content, lectures, digital pedagogy, even assessment you have done. Perhaps today all of you agree with me, students don't know how to write exam. Multiple choice, they got used to so much last 2 years, perhaps they forgot how to write I'm told even in NIT I have seen 50% of the students are struggling to write the exams. So now we have to switch over to the conventional classrooms, online teaching, different, therefore they have created one national digital library at IIT Kharagpur. Any one of you can go to NDL, register even with the Gmail, and get access to the resources which are available, which is available to everyone in India, which otherwise only few people, we spend 15 crores, IAC journals are available only to IAC, but you can go browse. If an abstract, if you see there in NDL, you ask your librarian to write a mail, then the reprint of that will come free of cost to your institution. So these are all being created by Government of India through NDL. So of course, scalability is always a problem in India. And lastly, I mentioned that today in technical education, 3,000 colleges, only 400, 500 are autonomous. The rest of them are affiliated to their respective universities. So therefore, to convert, to mature, to make the affiliated college to become autonomous, it cannot be made without accreditation. Accreditation speaks about the quality. So therefore, as all of you know, accreditation is important. Even tier 1, tier 2 accreditation we are doing. One is for universities and autonomous by National Board of Accreditation. And second one is what we call it as the tier 2 affiliated college. And we should be able to differentiate between the degree granting and standalone. So even though you don't call a university, a institution will be given and empowered to give the degree. So it's basically teaching universities all should become in the next 3 to 5 years. So accreditation means standard of quality of infrastructure, faculty quality, technology, and research facilities will be looked at more, because later I will tell you research will lead to good teaching and good teaching will lead to research. So therefore, if it has to happen, then we need teachers. And not, I told you that 35 crores of student has got only 1.1 crore. So large number of teachers are required. And not only teachers, teachers of, trained teachers. Number two, technology savvy teachers. So therefore, what Government of India is thinking is to train the teachers in digital technology in the national level. Each district, India is a huge country. There are 718, roughly 720 districts are there. They want to create these training centers so that even existing teachers should go through. You must be aware that the ACT mandate is also professors, 3 modules, associate 5 module, maybe 8 modules for the assistant professor is mandatory, so that you learn the pedagogy, outcome-based education, assessment tools, and so on. So this is going to be, also the smart, today platforms that we are using also will be trained under this. Because to become an high school teacher or a degree teacher, you need B.Ed or M.Ed. Unfortunately, for B.Tech, M.Tech, and MBBS, anybody can become teacher, but then you need a formal training. So the good research student may not be a good teacher. I'm sure that all of you agree. But the converse, every teacher should become a good researcher. The research itself shows a good research will lead to good teaching. While teaching, you get a lot of good problems so that you can do research. So research teacher, that's why, you must have seen in University Grants Commission said by 22-23, every teacher should possess a PhD. Good or bad, I don't want to debate at this point, but in the right perspective, if you do research, certainly it would help teaching, is what my experience is. So therefore, we have to erase the rote learning. Rote learning means routine, mundane thing. So now we should give emphasis on the multidisciplinary, holistic in the national education policy. So having said some highlights and also have some objectives, then I will move to the implementation. Dr. Ujjwala?
Yes, sir.
Do we break 5 minutes and then take the second
Yeah.
session?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah,
So, participants, we will break for 5 minutes and we will rejoin back to the session of NC, sir. Sir.
Thank you.